Hey everyone, welcome back to PokeMarketLab. Happy New Year. I hope everyone is off to a good start in 2025 here. And I know Surging Sparks is, and that's what we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about a bit of a market update for Surging Sparks. We are certainly in the midst of a bull market here in the Pokemon collecting and investing world, and Surging Sparks is pretty much leading that charge right now. So I wanted to give a quick update and see how our friend's doing here. And let's get into the booster box prices first. Doing really, really well, hitting that $250 market price. Almost over 9,000 of these sold on TCG Player alone. Volume here, if you look at that chart, is still holding on really, really well. And these have dried up quite a bit. So looking at some of the other availability of booster boxes from the Scarlet and Violet era on TCG Player, sets like Temporal Forces, Obsidian Flames, Paldea still have that about 120, 150 booster boxes listed on TCG Player. So this is actually quite low here for a product that's still fairly young. And keep in mind, when we start seeing booster box prices like this on the market, that drives a lot of people who were going to keep stuff on the shelf, or maybe people who wanted some short-term profits, that's going to bring those boxes to the market. So we're seeing a lot of boxes get flushed through the market here, but what's going to happen is the price keeps going up. It's going to keep pulling. You're going to have boxes that are literally going through TCG Player 1, 2, or 3 times as people as that price keeps going up, people are accumulating margin and acquiring margin as that price accumulates. But this is doing phenomenally well. Beautiful chart. The only headwind really here is time as people start to focus on some of the other sets here we have coming up, like Prismatic Evolutions. And we're going to see a little bit of that trend as we look at some of the other products here. I would say a fair 1 year price target for this is minimum 300. I don't think that's out of the question. I think it's on its way there. As high as 500. I threw 500 in here. I don't know if we'll get to that point. I think that's a little high for this. But again, I think even subjectively or objectively, even this is the market has voted on this product, and it absolutely loves it for sure. And then going on to the Pokemon Center ETBs, you know how I feel on the Pokemon Center ETBs. It's a beautiful product. This has Pikachu on it. It's beautiful box art. They're collectible. They're in demand. The cards in them, the sealed, Pokemon Center cards in them, the stamp promos are collectible. The Surging Sparks PC ETB is a little off its pre-order high, but still do well above, over 200% over its original MSRP of that $60 that you pay on Pokemon Center. There's 100 of these listed on TCG Player, and a good number of these have been fleshed out. And again, because of that Magneton promo card in there, stamp promo, these will be cracked. This is a phenomenal product to hold long term. I would urge any of you to look at some of my other videos regarding Pokemon Center ETBs and just look at the market. These do very, very well. And if you combine a really good set with a good promo card like we have here, there's no reason these aren't going to continue to go up over time. So I would urge anyone to hold on to these if you can long term. You can't get these again. It's not like booster boxes. There's not going to be likely not going to be any reprints for these. So this is a really, really good collector's item long term. And I think a very fair 1 year price for this is about that, 200 to 250. I don't think it's out of the question given what we've seen with some of the other Pokemon Center ETBs. And again, now that we have a reason to crack these for those promo cards, that sealed population out there is going to diminish over time. This is the de facto new collector box for the Pokemon world. And we get that Magneton promo you can see in the top right there. It's a pretty good promo, holding its own at about a $40 price point, which is a good percentage of that current market price for these. Onto regular ETBs, holding steady at a $73 market price. These are still popping up periodically on retail websites like Target, even Macy's for about that MSRP. So I think if you can wait a little bit, you can probably snag these at MSRP. Certainly, out of any of the products in Surging Sparks, this is the highest likelihood as a reprint candidate. Still plenty of these available on TCG Player. So I don't think I would be chasing this $70 price point. I have a couple. I think you can, if you spend a little effort and spend a little time, you can get these for MSRP. So I would hold out for that. I would not be paying this price point. And I think just given the reprint likelihood on this product, I would give this more of a price target of about the $80 to $100 price point there. But this is probably the most likely product to take a hit from a market price standpoint as time goes on and focus shifts. And again, as reprints, likely reprints, I cannot imagine Surging Sparks gets left behind in reprints. We already need reprints of ETBs and booster boxes, but the Pokemon Company's been very, very light-handed with that. So I'm not. I wouldn't spend $80 to $100 to go get this right now, because knowing that it's probably going to get a reprint, and we might be able to get in at a better price here. And looking at some of the top cards in the set, obviously we have that Pikachu EX in the top left corner, beautiful card. And as you can see, we have multiple cards in the 3-digit price range, which is quite rare for a box that's been out for a little while. We typically start to see these prices start to drop heavily. We did not see that huge drop after release. We actually saw the opposite. We saw some cards bounced off some lows and bounced right back up. Some like that Pikachu EX Hyper Rare there, number 3 slot, the gold card, that actually increased after release day. So from a single standpoint, this is holding up really, really well. And again, looking in detail here at some of these cards, the singles have definitely slowed down in terms of appreciation here. So you can see, if you look at that chart for the Pikachu EX on the left here, there, kind of shot up, hit that $500 price, that kind of ceiling, dropped back a bit, and then leveled off, which is actually, I think, is extremely healthy. It's not tanking or anything in the short term. It's still gained since release, but it's just kind of holding steady at the moment. And then with the Latias EX and Melodic EX, same kind of thing, hit some highs, dropped off a little bit, and leveled out. You can see the volume too. You kind of see that slope down on the volume here, as again, I think two things are happening. We're heading into kind of the Christmas season was kind of started to slow a little bit on some of the single purchases. And then again, I think as we hit Prismatic Evolutions, we're just in that natural time frame where we're up against the next set. So everyone's attention is kind of shifting elsewhere. But I think these are still really healthy prices. We're in a bull market, so people are making money. Whether you're cracking boxes, or maybe you're trying to chase a certain card and you got other cards that you don't want, you sell. There's demand. The supply is not crazy. Look at the current quantities of all 3 of these cards. It's not crazy. They're not huge volumes here. There's plenty of demand. So there's really no race to the bottom. There's no reason to keep undercutting and undercutting. If you put singles up and you leave them close to the market price, they're probably going to sell within a short period of time. So this is a good signal to the market. It's a good signal on the singles long term, which again really supports that booster box price. It's a set it's got really good cards. I mean, just you can't deny the fact you may not. There's got to be. I don't care who you are out there. There's your cup of tea somewhere in the singles within this set. And then looking at the next 3 as well, we get that Pikachu EX, which did phenomenally well for a release. Look at that run up there after release, and beautiful card, absolutely gorgeous card. And as we start to get past Pikachu here, we can see some downturns to some of these other cards here. So this is where the kind of demand starts to taper off, and we see what happens typically with these is we see a couple SIRs that have they're seen more frequently. And so what happens is, as people are chasing the higher end cards like that Pikachu EX SIR, you start, they crack, singles like this Hydreigon and Exeggutor here, and so people list these on the market, and there's just not as much demand, and obviously when they list them, there's not as much demand in the secondary market, so there's a little bit more of a decrease in price there on those, but still, again, nothing crazy. It's still a similar chart to what we're seeing elsewhere here. It's extremely, extremely healthy. And a reminder on pull rates for this set, really, really difficult. So that special illustration rare slot for a specific SIR is 1 out of every 960 packs on average. And I did a video a little while ago now looking at some math regarding that Pikachu EX SIR. We were talking many, many thousands of boxes cracked based on what we saw, how many Pikachu SIRs we saw moving through the market. So they created, and that's again what we want from an investor standpoint. Long term, there's other factors, but in the short term, if you're deciding to pick up a product, hard pull rates are absolutely a must. We see it. We see easy pull rates negatively affect the single market, which negatively affects the booster box market in the long term. We saw that with Obsidian Flames. Now Obsidian Flames is making a turnaround, but for a while there, just the cards in that set, there was just so easy to pull. You have to have singles, demand for singles there was demand for singles in Obsidian Flames, but not enough to counter the amount of available cards that were in the market. And the booster box is always going to suffer. Remember, everything, all those things are interconnected, especially in the short term. Longer term, they start to diverge from each other, but in the short term, they're very, very much connected. So from an investing standpoint, we want fantastic cards. We want hard pull rates. We want a really, really solid chase card, which we had in this set with the Pikachu SIR. That is the top chase card in Scarlet and Violet, at least for now. And that just creates that demand. And we want people to crack boxes. We want that population of sealed boxes to diminish. And I think we've proven that with some of the math we did on the Pikachu EX SIR. People cracked and they chased that card. And it's at the end of the day, you have to think about what people do in this hobby and want in this hobby. People want to collect cards, but they also want to crack cards, right? We see a lot of this with the rip and ship community here online. People want the crack. They want that experience, okay? It's a physical experience of chasing a card, and there's nothing like pulling the card. Maybe it's not the top SAR, but it's something else. You want that experience. That's part of the game here. So wrapping up here, this set is doing phenomenally well. Again, the only headwind is going to be prismatic evolutions in time, but this is not, the decrease in volume you see here on booster boxes is not indicative of anything other than the normal cycle of we're moving on to another set and everyone's attention starting to shift, but that doesn't mean anything in terms of booster box prices. And it could be, you can see that kind of step up to that's happening in that pricing chart there. So we could sit at that $250 price point for a while, and we're seeing what's happening now is the volume of money is kind of moving back to Sword and Shield right now, because, and this is really you can actually, I think you can logically trace back the money that's pouring back into Sword and Shield from Surging Sparks. So Surging Sparks is setting the high water mark from a price standpoint in the Scarlet and Violet era. So again, as an investor, you're thinking, okay, $250 price point for Surging Sparks. This is a new set. I can go back at least a few weeks ago. I could go back and get a Fusion Strike box for $250, or Lost Origin for $250, or Chilling Reign for $250. Right? You get what I'm saying, right? So that kind of creates that question, that calculus. Where do I put my money? Do I put my money in something new, where maybe it gets reprinted and maybe it drops down again? Or do I put something in something that's essentially a safe haven where it's not going to get reprinted? It's likely not to tank at any point in time. So you can kind of see that money shifting back and forth. It's really interesting to see that kind of herd mentality start moving the money around the market. So fantastic product. It's beautiful cards, beautiful logo, beautiful box. It checks every single box. So I would urge anyone who's out there, just hold on long term for these. I think it's got a really bright future from a booster box standpoint, a regular set standpoint. It is the high water mark in Scarlet and Violet. So it's going to take quite a bit, even in a bull market, it's going to take quite a bit to beat this at this point. It's not possible, but it's going to take some time. And the question is really going to come down to the Team Rocket set, right? That's what everyone's kind of holding their breath on from a regular set standpoint. If that, you can't just put that set out without some really banger cards. And so if we don't see that in Team Rocket as we start to see previews, that could send Surging Sparks up quite a bit, because everyone's comparing to Evolving Skies, and everyone's waiting for that Evolving Skies 2.0. And I think in the back of the people's minds, Surging Sparks could be a candidate for that. But it's Team Rocket that everyone's really holding out for. It just has such a name, has so much history associated with it. And if that teeters, if that falls, if that doesn't deliver, I think Surging Sparks is going to go up. I think that's why I put that $500 price target for in a year as a possibility. So that's it. That's it for our update on Surging Sparks. Hope you liked it. Again, like, comment, subscribe if you like what we're doing, and we will see you on the next one.